So, mate, when clients take it all in-house, we've seen it before, heard it before, experienced it ourselves, where client decides to take all the services in-house and the immediate reaction is, I can't believe they've done that. They won't do it well. And how else are we going to be able to generate revenue as a business? But let's flip it around, because actually it's actually real positive that clients actually want to do that.
I totally agree. I think that when we talk about commodity services, whereas before, like back when we, earlier in our career, when Google ads and, what was Facebook advertising and stuff, it was like the dark arts. It's like, you were wheeled out in front of clients selling this new exciting thing.
Especially programmatic.
Yeah. It's a commodity now. It's a commodity sale. And don't get me wrong, we've realised that, to find some really good paid media specialists, it is hard. There's a lot of people that do it well, but, again, people have to get enough experience to deliver that well.
Yeah.
But I encourage clients to be looking at definitely things like paid media management, community management. Should start looking about how can we in-house that service, because I think definitely if you think about something like social community management, it needs to be someone that lives and breathes the brand.
Exactly.
And on pulse with the brand. Paid media, a little bit different, but at the same time, I see it as a commodity sell. I sometimes see it as a good thing, because I think it opens up the opportunity for agencies to say, what we do, okay, Mrs. Client, yeah, okay, we see that plan. And to be honest, we've seen this ambition in many briefs out to us. Be like, we have the ambition in 18 months' time to in-house. Okay, great. So we front it up and go, what we'll do is we'll put you on a 18-month track. 6 months, we will build. 6 months, we will embed, knowledge share, and even help you hire your team.
Yeah, that's good.
And in 6 months, we'll hold your hand and let's see what, at the 18-month checkpoint, let's see where we are. Because invariably, the clients still want you around. Yeah. Let's be honest. And we've seen that. So we almost actively encourage that exchange to happen, because I think it's a healthy thing for clients to start to think like that. Definitely. And use agencies in a more strategic way, because I do think agencies do get tarred with this brush of you work with brands work with an agency 12, 18 months, definitely by month 11, 12, fatigue sets in. It's the same old monthly call or weekly call. Yeah. It's the same old report.
12 dashboards.
Yeah, it flips. Seasonality changes everything. So, you'll be top of the world one moment, and then you'll be like literally scrambling around in the dungeons the other moment to try and fix some things and throw some new creative or add to it. I think that's something that should sit with the client, because sometimes some of those movements need to be agile with the sales cycle. But agencies still can guide on that, and there's a lot of experienced people out there. Yeah. So one thing that we've been experimenting, sort of, I say pilot testing, beta testing, and Curated is this idea of like fractional CMOs. Yeah. So I think they're really valued by clients. So someone that comes in, even if it's not in a fractional CMO role, but it's a marketing consultant role, and is able to guide and steer what's happening within the business. Because speaking to lots of brand managers, marketing directors, myself, they get caught up in the day-to-day. They're chasing their tail, and sometimes they need a pair of eyes outside to go, look, take a breath. Let's 100%. Focus our time here. Again, we've talked about solving the right problem. I think sometimes you can problem chase, and then you can end up in no man's land. And then if you're in no man's land, you're not going to be delivering anything, let's be honest. So long story short, I think it's a good idea for agents but brands start thinking like that. And agencies should be open to that exchange changing. Because if they're not, I know it's probably been said for 5 years, this in-housing model is going to happen. Then COVID hit, there's a lot of flux out of COVID. So there's a lot of good people moving around the ecosystem, so to speak. So that sea change hasn't quite changed yet, but it's going to come. It's going to come.
Well, look, it goes back to what we were talking about previously about agencies focusing on the highest value work. And actually, if things like community management is a good example, agencies could charge a lot of money for that kind of stuff, but actually it's really important to have that kind of activity in-house. I've got it with a few clients at the moment, actually, where saying there's certain things you need to be doing in-house, because actually in 2 years' time, if you take that on board, then they appreciate it more, but then you're there to kind of help guide them through the process.
And on this, I'd love to see, like, looking at it from a business point of view, how profitable it sometimes for, like, so if you're running digital marketing as a loss lead because you've got massive TV budgets from a client, then okay, it makes sense to run it as a loss lead strategy. But if you're running more of a traditional performance marketing play plus some planning and a bit of strategy, you know, how profitable is it to run performance marketing on behalf of clients? Because like, just from our point of view, we can see that profit margins on that kind of work sometimes aren't the best. We run it as a bit of a loss leads for more strategic and research work. But at the end of the day, if you know you can offer that value, why don't you double down on that value and really make that point of your distinction? And then say, but look, we've got experienced people that have done this for years. So what we do, we build, we train, and then we'll pass it over to you.
And I think that what that also means that actually is that we get what we want to happen, which is having an actual impact on the business. And let's call it communications generally, because it's just the broadest term I can think of, actually has an absolute central role in how the business performs, not just how the business communicates, which are very different.
It makes those boardroom conversations a lot easier. So you're not having that pressure, because that's the problem. There's a kick the dog mentality, I find. If you get sucked into running a lot of performance marketing without a certain amount of support with brands, it's a kick the dog mentality. Board level, they kick downwards, and it just keeps going downwards, and you're the one to be blamed. So I think agencies should respin the problem, or respin the solution on this, and be open to it, as long as they look to train and then onboard a team the right way, and then work with the client to manage that, or the brand to manage that. Then it can be a really, really good thing for not only the industry in general, but the businesses that we're trying to drive return on investment for. Definitely.
It goes back to the thing about the positioning of agencies and what they stand for and what they want to work on, because then actually they're not being everything to everybody. They're being something very specific to the right clients.
Exactly.
And actually then, maybe, dare I say it, it'd be nice to have it where there's less of a, I remember talking to Pete Rice about this actually, about kind of the ideas graveyard and the pitch parades, beauty parades. And it's like, maybe actually companies go out to less agencies because they know about those agencies properly before they approach them. And therefore there's not just the tango or the dance that happens, which is wastes so many hours. I mean, like hours, days, thousands of pounds.
You don't get back, you don't get remunerated. Well, if you don't win the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. But even then, it's having that match is really important. And that's just human nature. Building, finding the right rapport with individuals is tough. And if you come across as being everything to everybody.
And again, we've talked about topics here before today: strategy, return on investment. That's why asking the right questions about the problems that need to be solved at the discovery process is so important. And then you can sort of start to wink out, okay, what are the people problems? What are the technology problems? What are the problems with process? And I think straight away, you're the adult in the room. If you're talking like that, you're the adult in the room. I think that's so important to understand that, to really deliver, again, that return on investment. And I think for businesses, if our key goal as an agency is to be an enabler of strong return on investment for our clients, then we should be looking at that in-housing model as an opportunity, not a threat.
Yeah, definitely. Nice one. Good stuff, man. Cheers. Good chats, man. Good chats.
Yeah, always good.